Hey y'all, Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Yeah, I know I said I wasn't gonna do any more of these on this channel, but hey, look, I got a whole lot of irons in the fire, so we haven't kicked off another channel yet, but it's still in the works, I suspect. Plus, this isn't gonna be one of those controversial ones. At least I don't think. Hey, before I get into it, hey, just a reminder, remember, go check out the most consequential Kickstarter campaign I think is going on right now. And it has to do with, honestly, something that could literally change the dynamics of what's going on. I mean, it's not a panacea. It doesn't answer everything, but it is a really good solution. So check that out, please. All right, y'all, let's get into it. All right. 5.8 trillion. Let me say that again. 5.8 trillion. That is the proposed budget of this administration for the next year. Okay, no, it hasn't been approved, but 5.8 trillion. Okay, you're thinking, well, what's another trillion, right? Based on what we got right now. All right, well, let me just kind of put it into perspective, you dig? All right, imagine you lived at about the time of Christ. And let's say you were like Highlander, that you were immortal. You couldn't die unless somebody chopped your head off or something, right? So let's say you had a business at that time and you made $1 million a day, a million with an M. How long would it take you to make $1 billion? About 2.7 years if you made $1 million a day. Okay, to try to put this into perspective, because nobody understands how much a trillion is. Let's look at it this way. Now, you're that same millionaire, you're going to live forever, right? And you're making that $1 million a day. From that time, let's say, from the time Jesus was walking around on this earth until this present day, to make $1 trillion, you would have to work another 717 years, if my math serves me correctly, to get $1 trillion. That's just 1 trillion. But these pollcats are telling us 5.8 trillion. Okay. You don't have to be an Austrian economics professor to figure out what's going on right now. You see inflation everywhere, unless you just choose not to see it. I mean, you see it everywhere. That's basically a whole lot of money in the system chasing two little goods, in a nutshell. So what does all this mean to you? Look, I'm going to get into solutions in a minute, because I never, ever, if you'll notice, I've never proposed a problem on this channel to which I did not give you at least one, usually two solutions to it. Okay, so we'll get there. So what does all this mean to you? Well, in a nutshell, I'm going to tell you what everybody else with any sense has been telling you, is that basically the wheels are coming off this train. There is no way, if you think it was bad already with the inflation, that is only going to go much higher, it's going to go even higher. Look at some of the other sources, reliable sources out there. People like Mike Adams, the health ranger. People like Pinball Preparedness. You need to check him out too. Dude puts out more videos than you can shake a stick at. But what I love about him, thanks Ben and Denise over at Renewed Homestead for turning me on to him, is that it's all facts. He's just putting out there what the facts are, lets you think for yourself. But look at what he and Mike Adams almost simultaneously revealed today. That basically in Germany, I told you last video or last week or whatever, Ice Age Farmer basically told you in Germany, they're running out of stuff to be able to feed to the chickens to get eggs. They had about 2 weeks worth of eggs going on right now. Now, all of a sudden, your food prices have gone up, 50% over there in a single day? Now, you're thinking, well, I'm American. I live in the United States of amnesia. That's never going to bother me. Well, I got news for you. It's coming. Oh, yes, indeed, it is coming. Heavens to Murgatroyd, it's coming. And it's coming in the biggest way. But what really bothers me, what's driving me nuts right now, is I had a really good or long conversation with a good friend of mine last night. And despite what's going on, his response was, well, it's just going to pass when Biden's out of there. I'm like, yeah, you just go ahead and keep thinking that, Jack, because that ain't what's going to happen. And it's going to happen relatively soon. Okay, what I intend to do, hopefully, in these next videos, and just remember, y'all, I'm speaking extemporaneously, so if I get numbers a little bit off, or they are a little bit out of whack, or maybe things don't come together perfectly, I'm shooting this out on the top of my head. I don't have notes. I'm just shooting this out, but I think it's sufficient. I think I can communicate the points. Okay. I've said all that to say this. Look, I can't even begin to tell you how many emails I've gotten as of late. One of which, well, actually, there's been a number of them saying, hey, man, can you tell us about homestead finance? Can you tell us about this? Can you tell us about that? Look, if you want a definitive, comprehensive version of this, I mean, Danny at Deep South has talked about this extensively. Go back and check out his Front Porch Talks. I'm going to hit maybe different highlights of this, okay? So I get hit up about this all the time. You're probably thinking, man, you said you spent 5 minutes sitting here going on about this and you didn't just get into this. Look, I'm setting the stage to say this. I've been invited to a number of local farm groups and everything. And basically they're people that come from the left tradition. Not my tradition, but it's, that's where they are. Some of them really good people. But then I always hear this stuff, mostly from young people and really from everybody. Land equity. I can't get land. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's always can't. And no matter how many times I sit here and I tell them, and I'm thinking that maybe if they see it come from a person that looks a little bit like me, then maybe they might start questioning all these things that have been told by these lunatic college and professors and high school teachers. Because really, that's if I'm going to come off the top rope on anybody, it's if you see a theme to all these videos, it's probably them because they propagate more lies than anybody. They sit there and tell them, and they throw this word around a lot, equity. Equity. There needs to be equity in this, equity in that, or they're a bunch of fascists. Go up and next time you hear a person say that, go up to that person. Try this experiment. I've done it numerous times. Go up to that person and say, define equity for me. Define fascism for me. And 9 times out of 10, they might have a chance of knowing what equity means, but they will not know the definition of fascism. They heard it from a college professor. They heard it from a high school teacher. They heard it from some dope on TV. Okay? Which, by the way, fascism basically is the unholy alliance between corporate and state. Okay, as Mussolini would look at it. Anyway, so I keep hearing all this stuff. I can't buy land. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, well, no, that's not the case. Even in these times, you can do it. How do I know? It's because for the last, I don't even know how many years, I've been doing it. I haven't been going to a realtor to buy land. I can't tell you how many land acquisitions I've gotten just by doing a couple of the methods. And that's really what I'm trying to hit in this video. Is despite what those teachers are telling you, despite what these college professors are telling you, which, by the way, are going to just have you think within this very narrow band chained at the bottom of Plato's cave, okay? I'm going to expose to you a couple of other things, a couple of ways in which I bought land, okay? And it doesn't involve going to a realtor. I've talked about this briefly on my Patreon channel. Here's what you do. Go to Craigslist, okay? Go to Craigslist and look and see if there's somebody selling. Let's just say it's an acre. Let's say it's 5 acres because that's what I've mostly bought back in the early days. Go to that Craigslist ad and they're going to tell you, just for good round numbers, I'm going to say 5 acres for, let's say, $30,000, okay? Now, you go to a bank and ask them to loan you $30,000 on bare land. The answer is going to be no, not unless you probably got 50% down. So you're never going to get it. Okay, so don't stop there. Do what I did. Go find out who that owner is. If it's a for sale by owner, and believe me, they are out there. And here's what you're going to find out 9 times out of 10. You're going to find out that it's probably, and this is what I've discovered, and every time I've done it, is that it's going to be some old boy who is a farmer, got a lot of land, probably inherited land, and he or she, it's usually a he, found himself in a bind because he went and bought this brand new pickup truck or a side-by-side or a boat or something else that he couldn't afford. And so now he's in a bind. He's got to make that payment, right? So he's hoping to get a big payoff so he can pay it off. But what he doesn't realize or what he doesn't consider is that, you know what, it's going to take a little bit of time. No bank is going to loan on that, by and large. So how can you solve that person's problem? It is permaculture. The problem is the solution. So what I did, I would go up, meet this person, go out, look at the land. And like I said, this is a one-off. I've done it several times. Go out there, look at the land, and just say, okay, I'm kind of looking at his truck, and it's a brand new truck, and I'm thinking, what must he be paying for that a month? I said, I'll tell you what, bro, I'll give you $500 down. I will pay you $500 a month. And here's the rub. Now, my brother is a real estate attorney, so make sure I threw this in there. So if I miss 3 consecutive payments, not only do you keep everything I gave you, you keep all the improvements that I made to the property. You will find out that 9 times, in fact, it's been 10 times out of 10 I've ever done this, I've gotten the deal. Because number one, I'm giving them, they probably realized at a certain point that no bank's going to loan on that land. And I am basically covering their truck note, okay? So what does that do for me? I didn't amateurize this $30,000 over 30 years and paid 3 times what it's worth. No, I did a handshake deal. Think about this, y'all. If you can go out and buy a $30,000 car, let's say, and pay it off in 5 years, why can't you do the same with land? You are being robbed. Yeah, so there are ways to do this. Have I done this? Absolutely. Another way, real quick way, I'm trying not to make this video too long, is back when I lived in Oklahoma, this wasn't very popular at the time, but believe it or not, it was pointed out to me by my mom. She'd heard about somebody doing it, so I went down and did it. I went down to the courthouse, and I was learning about tax liens. There was no books on the subject, at least nothing I knew about. So I went down there, went to the county assessor's office in Oklahoma County. They got these massive books. You can go through, and they're all books of people who are in the rears on their taxes. Now, I got strong feelings about this for a number of reasons. What I was looking for was basically acreage that I could get on the cheap. Now, last thing I wanted to do, or that I was going to do, was buy the tax lien on somebody's property and then kick out some grandma. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen as far as I was concerned. So anyway, I was basically, you can go in there. Worst case scenario, let's say you spend $1,000 paying this tax lien. Worst case scenario, you had to do a mailing, you had to have a notice, you had to have it in a periodical. There was like 3 things you had to do. You do that, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's yours. Depending on whether you're in a tax lien state or a tax deed state. Look, I can't go into all that right now. Point being is that it is entirely possible for you to get, anywhere between 1 to 10 acres for next to nothing. Now, if there's additional liens, look, this isn't comprehensive, y'all. What I'm trying to point out here is I have a number of times purchased land without having to go through the system. Look, I said all that to preface where we are right now. You don't have to go to these people with your hat in the hand to go get a mortgage. You don't have to do that. You just need to make a handshake deal. You just need to take a version of this framework I'm providing and go out and make your own deal. So when these people in these group meetings, it drives me nuts. I'm really seriously thinking about disassociating myself with these people. When they sit here and go on, now I told them everything I'm telling you right now. And their response, by and large, in these meetings is, well, I don't think I could do that, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I'm like, okay, whatever, man. I sat there, I told you chapter and verse, and believe me, I'm giving you the cliff notes right now. I gave them chapter and verse how to do this. It can be done right now. So despite the fact that we're heading for the abyss, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat this, y'all, just keeping it as real as I can. There is no mathematical way to overcome what is about to befall this country. You're seeing it happening right now. But there are ways, just like we teach you on this channel, just like a number of reliable other channels do the same, where we teach you how you don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't have to you don't have to sit here and live by another's leave, wishing you could make ends meet and do all this. Look, there's a whole lot of things you can do at the house. Well, there's a whole lot of ways you can purchase property. There's ways you can lease property. Read Greg Judy's 2 books. And honestly, it ain't that hard. You can do it in a neighborhood. You can sit here and lease a certain piece in the neighborhood. You can lean the neighbor next door who maybe isn't doing anything. You know what? If you doubt me, go back, and now I can't believe I'm going to suggest somebody do this. Go back and watch some of the earliest videos we did on this channel. And I believe we called it Permaculture at Work. We had our farm in East Texas, and I worked 2.5 hours away. So basically I lived there during the week at the job. Actually, I'd live there at a month at a time, and I'd come home and see Michelle William once a month, basically on a weekend. 7 days a week, 12-hour days, nonstop. And somehow, if you look at those videos, I was still able to farm. You know how I did that? I was living in a fifth wheel on the job at the time. I was working 12-hour days, and still somehow on that job, I still created a orchard. Even got chickens on the job, even though it freaked everybody out. I had chickens on a job site. So it can be done. There was a parole office next door. And if you knew the guys I worked with, you'd realize how convenient that was. But anyway, we had a parole office next door where, I went in there and talked to those folks. And they were like, yeah, man, we don't care. We got all this land out back. There was 3 acres, or I think whatever it was. Yeah, go ahead and farm it. We don't care. It is there. It is available for you. You got land out there you can buy for next to nothing. You can check out Matt over at Homesteading for a Living. Look at what they've done, he and Gabby. It is the only limits are what are the boxes you put yourself in. There are ways to where you can get meat and acquire it for next to nothing. Be thinking outside the box, just like the video I just put out on Patreon. Where I'm talking about, hey, look at all this food I got for free to feed to my animals. Worse yet, it's edible. Human beings could eat this food. Think outside the box. And folks, you're going to have to do it in the most massive ways in the coming days. I mean that. Look at what's going on. All these other places where they're giving out vouchers, like in Chicago. Just recently, I heard about in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot is basically going to be giving out gas vouchers. Dig this. Gas vouchers, gasoline vouchers to all the people there. This is what the mayor of Chicago is talking about doing, and just for a select few. Are you kidding me? That woman's crazy anyway. And by the way, Mayor Lightfoot, I really, really enjoyed you in Return of the Jedi. You played the best Commander Akbar ever. In fact, I think you should have been given an Oscar, but I digress. You have all these people doing basically, they're going to be doing handout programs, throwing crumbs to you. You don't have to live by their crumbs. You really don't. You don't have to live by another's leave. You can acquire property. Think outside the box. There's other people out there telling you clever ways in which you can get this done. You don't have to go to the grocery store to get all your food. I am not yet to the status of my friends and mentors down at Deep South Homestead, where essentially they go to the store for toilet paper and aluminum foil. I'm not exaggerating. That's really it. By and large, you get the point. That's where we ought to be trying to achieve. That's exactly where I'm going. People tell me, oh, you do these front porch talks. You're imitating Danny is what some of them said. Well, I'm glad you noticed. Anyway, kind of bring this thing full circle, y'all. You're more, just like, you're more than you know. You're capable of more than what they tell you. You do not have to be in a box in which they tell you what you can buy, how much land you can have, all these other things, how much you can control, all this. Look, this is all a big lie. I'm proof of it. I'm living proof of it. So when you see somebody like me sitting on the porch like this and doing the work I do and spending every day doing the work I love, you ought to be asking yourself, oh, I hate that guy because blah, 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 blah. No, instead of saying that, you ought to say, how can I do it too? Well, I just dropped a big, massive, tactical nuke of information on how you can take one aspect of finding your road to self-sustainability, okay? And regeneration, really. All right, y'all, remember what I said. I'll just kind of close it down with this. Look, remember what I said about the Kickstarter? Like I said, by far the most consequential thing on that thing. And I'll do another video about Kickstarter here in the future. Also, look, if you need anything, bone sauce, comfrey, check out the website. If you need especially these days, you need an EMP shield, check the description box down below. And also, look, folks, all you people are hitting me up about butchery classes. Jason from Sow the Land has made an exceptional online, the best version of a chicken butchery class you could ever ask for. And that's also linked down below. So if you need anything we have, y'all, we're willing to help. And we thank you for all of your support. I thank you for watching if you made it this far in this video. All right, we'll see you next time. This is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion.